determination on his student grade appeal. Item number 2, Government Code 54957.6, Conference with Labor Negotiators, Agency Designated Representative Robert S. Blazinski, Assistant Superintendent, Vice President of Human Resources. Item number 3, Government Code 54957, Public Employees Appointment, Director, Student Health Services. Item number 4, Government Code 54956.8, Conference with Real Property Negotiator, address 4105 Rosemead Boulevard, Rosemead, California, District Negotiator, Candace Jones, Negotiating Parties, El Monte Union High School District. Item number 5, Code 54956.9A, Conference with Legal Counsel, pending litigation, one matter. Item number 6, Governor Code 54957, Evaluation of Employee Superintendent President. At this time, we will dismiss to our closed session and will return approximately 5 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, the board is back from closed session, and we took no action in closed session to report. So at this time, I would like the roll call, please. Mary?
Trustee Brown,
Here?
Trustee Waugh,
Here.
Trustee Silver,
Here.
Trustee Chen Lao,
Here.
Trustee Fellow,
Here.
Trustee Martin,
Here.
Trustee Osterling,
Here.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
All right, welcome, Trustee Ramirez. And I must say that it is so good to be here amongst you all. I mean, I enjoyed virtual, but there's just such of a good feeling to see you and being with you. I appreciate you for coming. Okay, so at this time, we are going to have, next on the agenda is the land acknowledgement, and our associated student president is going to lead us in that.
Pasadena City College. Pasadena City College is a learning community within the indigenous homelands of the people who have been known as the Gabrieleño Band of Mission Indians of the Xixicwanga village and Quiche Nation. Today we acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from this land on which we gather. Let us take a moment of silence in honor of the important contributions of the stewards of the land who came before us. PCC and its faculty, staff, and students recognize that we are all simultaneously teachers, learners, and guests on these lands. This land acknowledgement is a small part of an ongoing process of working to be in good relationship with the people of the land and embodying equity in our practices and policies. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And now we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and our trustee Osterlin will lead us in that.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag under God,
Thank you, trustee Osterlin. Okay, at this time, we are going to have the administration of oath office for our returning student trustee. I guess we'll meet you over there, huh? And he looks so handsome. It must be a new position. Okay, so where's the oath? You did give it to me. Okay, do I need to? There is David. Okay. So I'm going to administer the oath of office to you. I would like you to repeat after me. I, David Ramirez,
I, David Ramirez,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
I will bear true faith
I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the United States of the State of, and the Constitution of the United States of California, and the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you would like to say, David?
I'll save everything for my report.
Okay, all right, David. Okay, next on our agenda is, let's see, where are we? Introductions and recognitions?
No, we're on approval reordering of the
Oh.
agenda.
Approval and reordering.
And
of them.
Trustee Brown, I would like to pull item G17 from the agenda.
Okay. Anything else?
Move to approve the agenda with the removal of the
Second.
item.
Okay, so we'll have vote at this time. Let's have a motion to approve. We did have
We have
the
that. We
motion.
just need-
So let's take the vote at this time. Oh, that's right. Now we
you
don't
have-
have
Oh.
to do
You
it.
have
That's
trustees
right.
with no rights.
Okay.
That, oh my goodness, how sweet.
President. Ms.
Do you want to
President,
do voice votes or
We have
hand
no-
votes? What would you like to do, Trustee Brown?
Oh, well, I guess.
No, we should just do the lights. That's what we say if you agree with the
Oh,
motion.
real nice.
Oh, that's sweet, huh?
It is fascinating.
Or
Just put the
trustees
light
without
on,
rights.
We don't
yes.
have lights.
Oh,
Oh, so,
they don't have it on their side.
okay, well, I
We'll,
guess
we'll
we
do
gotta-
hands. We'll
Yeah.
do
Let's do
hands.
raise your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so here you go, Mary. All in favor, okay. No nay, no. Okay, great. Oh, this is unreal. This is unreal.
It's good.
Okay, introductions and recognitions. Do we have any today?
No, not this evening.
Okay, so next we will have, do we have any public comments on non-agenda items?
No public comments on non-agenda.
No, you do. You have two.
Oh, these?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that's the first one. the gold
Okay,
one.
so we do have a comment from Alex Shaganaka, if I'm pronouncing it.
And let him know how much
And-
minutes he has.
And let him know he has 3 minutes.
Uh,
Let him know he
Explain?
has-
to-
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Shaganaka, you have 3 minutes to speak. When you begin, I'll press the button for the light. I think, do you see the 3 lights next? Yeah, there, green. And you are our first speaker in our new venue, so we assume that it's automatically going to go to yellow to warn you, and then red when the 3 minutes are over. And we think that will be the case. So please speak.
Morning. This is Shaganaka, aka the executive member of Costco Warehouse. Now, the PCC has taken care of the transportation issues, the U-Pass for students. Perfect job. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about something even more important, which is campus safety, student safety. Based on my research of the United States schools, there are average 2.5 school shootings every single month. So the numbers speak for itself that the active shooters, school shooters, they are not taking a break due to the pandemic. They are still doing their job. And given the information provided above, I just realized recently that our school officers, they are not even equipped with guns. How can you expect a police officer without a gun to deal with a gunman situation in campus? Based on the numbers I just provided, those numbers, one is too much. We cannot afford not even one more. When you take away the fire engine from a firefighter, then a firefighter can just become a civilian. And when you take away the gun from a police officer, they become no different than a security guard. And then I see that some posters we see a lot of posters that regarding the active shooting drill, emergency drill, and talk about that. We can have an active shooting drill right now. Let's pretend there's an active shooter in campus ready to break in right now. And then no matter how you're gonna hide under the desk, how you're gonna hide under the chair, I don't see that there's a great chance of surviving right now, right here. But think about that. If we ever have a police officer stand by the door, fully armed, that probably I will say the active shooter do not even want to step into this room. That's the huge difference. That's the difference that a fully armed officer can make. The worst scenario I can ever imagine in our campus is that our officer stop a suspicious person in campus. But the problem is that the officer is not armed, and then the person, suspicious criminal in our campus walking around is fully armed. That is what I call a tragedy waiting to happen. And because that tragedy is so bad that Shakespeare does not even want to write about it. There's only 2 things in the United States that no matter how hard you prepare, you always fail. Number 1 is to file income taxes with Uncle Sam. And number 2 is prepare to defend, to plan in advance for just in case there's an active school shooter on campus. based on my common sense observation, officers without a firearm cannot even protect themselves. How can they protect students from active shooter event, just in case? And just before you kick me out, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now you-
Any
the next
more?
one.
Yes, I have, can I take this? I have a letter to read from Ray Calandra. And the letter reads, "Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Ray Calandra. I'm a PCC alumni now studying at Cal State Monterey Bay. I'm not one normally to feel the need to address the board, but tonight it just seems necessary. I want to share with you the impact of the recent suicide of my friend Andre Patskowski. I have known Andre since he was in the 4th grade. Andre is the brother of one of my best friends. I could share with you a million funny stories on how he was that annoying little brother, or how his laughter was so contagious that even when the jokes were not funny. I could tell you that at South Pasadena High School, we were proud of his accomplishments on the cross-country track team and how his dream was to study business at USC. He was so proud to be at PCC as he knew it was the right decision. He was so excited to engage and belong to PCC, especially with the Ascend Men of Color program and associated students. There are so many things that I could share, but sadly, they are only memories now. I hope that you will honor his memory, that you will share his story, and expand on his legacy. Mental health was not foreign to Andre, and he was struggling, and unfortunately, he is not alone. So in his honor, please expand mental health programs at PCC. Please create solid partnerships within the community. Please create a grieving support group. Please do not sweep this under the rug as a one-time occurrence, because suicide is rising among our young people. Suicide has become an epidemic across a number of communities, especially the student and LGBTQ community, both communities that I proudly belong to. So many students relate to these feelings, whether it's the student who turns everything in and is seemingly well, or the student who sits in the back with their head down. They also feel unheard, vulnerable, and that their academic success is tied to their own personal self-worth. It is your job to protect and help your students, and if there is a time to implement new regulations regarding mental health, it is now. Please, don't let students continue to suffer in silence. Andre's friends and family are anything but ashamed of mental health. We are ashamed that our communities at large think this is an isolated occurrence, or that it does not happen to us, but it does. Suicides happen every single day. I would also like to thank Dr. Cynthia Olivo. I know firsthand that she truly holds a special place in her heart for students and has inspired me in my own educational journey, which included both struggles and successes. Thank you, Dr. Olivo, for offering to keep your doors open for all students and for sharing resources and acknowledging Andre. I know that you make a difference. Please remember Andre. Please remember he was a PCC Lancer. Please remember that he belonged to all of us and with us. Please remember that it is our responsibility to carry on his legacy of odd yet hilarious humor, true and pure kindness, contagious laughter, and a love for learning. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you, my friend, Andre Patskowski, in hopes that you will remember him. Respectfully, Ray Calandra, PCC alum.
Thank you so much. Well done. Well read. Yes.
Thank you, President Brown. So I want to thank Ray for that letter, and so Director Calandra from PCC also wanted me to let everyone know that the family has set up a scholarship fund in Andre's name, so if anyone wants to contribute. Thank you.
Excellent. And we will adjourn in his name today. Okay, so let's go to item number 9, which is approval of our minutes from meeting number 7 and number 8. We could approve together, I think, right? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? If not, we'll take the vote by raising your hands if you agree. Thank you. Hands up, thank you. Okay, Mary, all in favor. Okay, now we have board committees reporting out. Do we have any reporting out today? Okay, Trustee Wall.
So the Board Policies Committee did meet, and you will see the policies that we have recommended. Most of them, there were no, I think there were only 3, so 2 of them had no changes. But we also discussed APs to the board policies, which came up during our retreat discussion, and found that back in 2016, the board committee had actually written up some APs to one of the board policies. So we will be coming back, we'll be reviewing that and then presenting it to the board in the future.
Okay, any other? Trustee Silver, please take your mask off so we can hear what you're saying.
Okay.
And then put it back on. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. The ad hoc naming committee met, and it was a discussion-oriented meeting. Nothing was voted on. An interesting thing that we did discuss is the potential renaming of the C, D, and E buildings. Originally, these buildings were named after the initial members of the Massachusetts Board of Education. So it doesn't. So those names have no relevance here at PCC, and so we'll be looking for naming opportunities for those buildings. And our next meeting is Thursday, October 28th at 3 p.m.
Thank you, Trustee Silver. Any other reporting? No? Okay, great. So we will move to our next items will be update on the DEI initiatives. Trustee Wall? Thank you, Trustee Wall.
Well, thank you, President Brown. So I just wanted to report that ACRO, the HR Association, did a presentation for the trustees on search and hiring. I believe Trustee Fellow was able to join us. So they have a number of recommendations they made that they would like various districts to try out. And so they are going to make a call for any districts to then volunteer as a pilot. So maybe something that we can think about. On the faculty evaluations and exit interviews, the work group is reviewing regulatory changes that could be made to help us solidify this for DEI. And then I wanted to report out that at ACCT, so Dr. Androjanis and Trustee Silver and I attended. The theme of the conference was DEI. California had a number of presentations, including gender equity, which was done by Dr. Androjanis, and myself and some other trustees and CEOs, and then we did a presentation on California and Washington, the collaboration that we have between the two states, which could be modeled across the Pacific region. And the Trustee Ikeda from State Center did another presentation on policies that could be looked at to help further DEI. So I did not get a chance to attend that, but I hope that we can get some of that information. I heard it was quite good. Overall, the other states across the nation were just amazed at how far along California is in moving DEI. So we are kind of a model for other states.
Thank you, Trustee Wall. Do we have any other report on DEI? No? Very good. Good job. We are definitely moving forward with DEI. A lot of work to be done, but we are underway. Okay. Now we have a presentation. Disaggregated data presentation. All right.
And I will turn this over to Executive Director of the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, Rockstar, Crystal Kohlross.
Bring it on, girl.
Well, thank you very much. It's lovely to see everybody tonight.
So I have the privilege tonight to introduce you or reintroduce you to two of my staff members, which I know they're going to pop up right now. There they come. Okay. And they did some really incredible and creative work on student race, ethnicity, and ancestry using the new categories introduced by the Chancellor's Office through the CCC Apply college application. So please let me introduce you to Dr. Dustin Tamashiro. Dustin is my senior research and planning analyst in the office, and Dan Nguyen is my equity research and planning analyst. And through some brainstorming and deep discussions, they bring you tonight what they call the Ancestry Dashboard. You're going to see it up on the screens, and you're also going to see it on the screens in front of you. Dustin?
Okay. Okay, good morning. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dustin Tamashiro, and as Crystal said, this is my colleague Dan Nguyen, and we're research analysts in the Office of Institutional Effectiveness. So during this brief 15-minute presentation, we'll be providing you with a special first look into our college's student ancestry data collected via a recent ancestry-focused addition to the California Community College's Common Application CCC Apply, and also present to you our original approach for incorporating that data into our college's ongoing equity work. If this would go forward. Okay, so in 2018, the Chancellor's Office brought together a small group of campus leaders to help reimagine how the races and ethnicities of our students are collected and ultimately reported out. After reviewing options already in use by the California community colleges, the UCs, the CSUs, and recognizing the need to better represent our college's indigenous student populations in the data we collect, their recommendations led to the development of the 194 expanded ethnicity ancestry options that are currently available in CCC Apply. So number-wise, this expansion represents an almost 10-fold increase in the original 24 options that have traditionally been available to students. Though each of the original response groups picked up additional options, as you can see, there are a couple that we'd like to point out. In particular, the 12 new previously unavailable response options added for students of Middle Eastern or North African descent, and also the 119 additional Native Californian and National Indigenous tribes and nations that are now available for students to select from. So like before, when students enter into the race and ethnicity section in CCC Apply, they're presented with two prompts. The first prompt asks them, are you Hispanic or Latino? And the second prompt asks them to check all of the non-Hispanic races and ethnicities that apply. Now, in support of the expansion, the presentation has also been modified and modernized to now dynamically adjust to what students pick. So when they choose a particular option, the list of expanded ancestry and ethnicity options will expand out to present them with relevant choices. So like before as well, a student might choose more than one option, or they might choose none at all. They might skip the entire section. So in this preview, what you can see here is the top 20 student responses. So this is what students have told us about themselves over the past few years that this section has been available, alongside some basic course outcome data that we'll revisit later in the presentation in the second half that Dan will be covering. As you can see, while many of the students in our system continue to report just single identities, the newer identities are obviously prompting more students to have additional options and to report more and represent themselves better in the data that we collect. So while those 20 different types of students might feel somewhat manageable to consider, they actually represent a small subset of the nearly 1,000 different response combinations that we've received thus far. So the response combinations would be a student choosing multiple responses rather than a single choice. So this graphic is called a tree map, where every single response combination is represented by a single box. The size of each box is proportional to the number of enrolled students affiliated with that response set. So as you can see, it becomes exponentially smaller and more unique the more further down to the bottom right that you go, and also more identifiable for the students. So as an educational institution, we're required to protect students' privacy, and being able to identify and potentially stigmatize or pigeonhole certain types of students based on their race, ethnicity, or family history is something we don't want to encourage or support. So rather than gloss over this data or like bypass it completely, we are using a different type of approach that attempts to categorize students based on the combinations that they provide. So it'll combine together the 194 different ancestry choices into smaller, similar, conceptually meaningful umbrella categories, and then we're using them to supplement our pre-existing, like federally recognized reporting categories, which are the basis of most of our equity-focused reports. So now I'll pass it along to Dan, who will show you what we came up with and provide you some additional data points.
Thank you, Dustin. So like Dustin had mentioned with the tree map that you saw earlier, we have nearly 1,000 different ancestry patterns that students have chosen, and that can be extremely overwhelming. I think it's very difficult to try and make sense and organize that data. So what we had undertaken was to try and use a cluster analysis to group those nearly 1,000 unique ancestry patterns into more manageable groups. So what you see here is the result of that analysis. Using IPED's race, expanded ancestry, and the number of students, we were able to come up with 9 major clusters, and those are color-coded for you to see there. Within 3 clusters, we saw additional branches, which we've indicated with the first 2 letters of the IPED's race category that they belong to. So for example, you see 105BL, 105WH. That indicates a cluster that has 2 branches, one that includes Black students and the other that includes white students. So we have provisionally characterized them as either established or emerging. So I'll advance the slides so that you can see what we are talking about here. We've mapped back these clusters to their IPED's race categories. And as you can see, under certain IPED's race groups, for example, Asian, there are 2 clusters. So what we have decided is to call these provisionally established and emerging groups. What we mean by emerging is that with these new, more nuanced data, we are seeing students who were previously not represented in our MIS data. And the more established groups, for example, Chinese and Filipino students, those have been options for quite some time. So we're expecting that with this data, over time, we'll see some changes in the clusters as it becomes more stabilized, because we're only using the first 2 years of this expanded ancestry data. Over time, as more and more students respond and tell us their ancestry, we expect that the clusters will stabilize. Oh, and as another note, we were intentional about not labeling the clusters with any particular group. We think it might be best to use numbers instead. And what we have done, though, is provided you with the top 5 groups that make up these clusters so that we have a working description of which students belong to these clusters. But again, because the data is rather new, we want to stay away from naming any of the groups, as well as also honor the fact that our students are quite diverse and we don't want one group to take precedence over another. Okay, the last couple of tables that we're showing here is our way of doing an internal check with the method that we use with cluster analysis. So because we're not introducing into our analysis any sort of outcome data, it really is just IPEDS race, expanded ancestry, and the number of students. We should not expect these clusters to have any weird effect on other sociodemographic information that we have from our students. So as you can see on here, we've looked at economic disadvantage and citizenship status, and the distribution within each of the cluster groups seem to make sense to us internally, and that provides us with additional confidence that the method we're choosing to use is valid. So next, I'll also show gender and age group. We know that students at PCC tend to skew a little bit younger, so the traditional college-going age is between 18 and 25, and that's what we're seeing here. It's borne out in our data as well. And we also know that our students tend to also be female more often proportionally than male. Okay. We also looked additionally at first generation as well as some completion data. And here we don't see anything that is unexpected, which additionally tells us that, okay, we're on the right path and we can continue to build out and scale up this analysis with future data. And the last thing we'll leave you with is the enrollment, retention, success, and completion data. And again, we're pretty confident with the numbers that we're seeing as well. So the clusters seem to be holding up to our expectations. And we'll continue to employ this with additional data down the line. Thank you for your time.
Any questions?
We also provided you with a handout that further explains their methodology and the graphs. I think you all have that in front of you as well. So if you have any questions, Dan and Dustin and I will be happy to answer.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't have any questions, but I think you know how thrilled I am to see this. It's been something that we have been asking, the Joint Caucuses have asked for some time. And I believe that we are the first district to actually use and demonstrate the use of this expanded data. So I think, Dr. Androgenis, we need to really showcase this at the upcoming CCLC conference. But thank you very much for all you did. And I know that, Dan, you and Dustin helped use some of this for the Anapisi grant that we applied for, which I know was very helpful. So thank you very much for this work.
Any other question? Trustee Martin.
Sorry if I missed this in the presentation. If someone is from two different ancestries, they just click both of those, I guess, on the multiple choice format, and then which colored box do they end in, or how does that work? Or?
That depends on how they fall into the cluster analysis. So if we went back to, and this is where it's really kind of interesting to look at, if we looked at the box chart and you go down into some of these really tiny ones and you hover over, it'll tell you what the selections were. So if you can see it on the screen, I can hover over one of these little boxes and it says to you, this student chose that they were going to be Filipino, other, and Pacific Islander. But that's how you find them. So what these folks did, Dan and Dustin, is they tried to capture as much as they could about the students' choices. So this one is Chinese, Korean, and other Asian. So that's exactly what someone chose, and that's how they got in the cluster. So if I'm answering your question, they can choose. There are some that we saw that students had chosen like so many different things. They can check as many boxes as they want. So that was really the challenge for Dan and Dustin.
Let me play back what you just said, and you'll understand if I heard you.
Okay.
So if I check 4 different boxes, and let's say I'm the only student that happened to check those particular 4 boxes, am I in my own little box up there, a box of 1 someplace on the chart in my own color?
Dustin says, yes, you got your own little box on the chart.
My own little
We don't want to miss you and we don't want to lose you, but you're going to be a tiny little speck
Okay.
right there.
And
And
you-
see, we couldn't, in these tiny little specs, we couldn't put too many numbers because that
Yeah,
would then
no, I'm just
identify. Yeah.
trying to understand it, but then it does get associated with a color, which that tiny little speck you picked looks like a 106
But the
TW
color is
maybe? I'm not
irrelevant.
sure.
Is that correct, Crystal?
Well, the color just represents which cluster they're in. So for example, on this one, they're in cluster 104, and it's just easier to follow the chart up
I
here.
missed
and
my
see
color.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is, anything in this section right here is cluster 104.
Okay.
And then if you go over here, now we're in cluster 105BI, I think.
Got it. And then the follow-up question is, so you've got all this amazing data and great colors, and what's the end game?
Well, from my perspective, the end game is Dan and Dustin and I, mostly Dan and Dustin. We do a little road show, and we are going to, on Friday, meet with, under Dr. Boland's division and talk to her advisory committee. We also see some really good practical applications. You can kind of dive into these clusters, and we'll hopefully be able to overlay this on other types of data. For example, they were so meticulous to explain to you how they made sure that their clusters actually reflected what we already know about student data, socioeconomic status, citizenship, so that we didn't see any real outlier patterns. If we had, they probably would have gone back in and done the clusters again. So let's say, for example, we can identify in one of these clusters that we know those students are coming from areas that are low socioeconomic areas, but we see that they haven't, they're not showing up as having applied for financial aid. That would be a way for us to say we need to target that group specifically to apply for financial aid, fill out the FAFSA, and help themselves be eligible. That's just one application that we could come up with, but I'm sure Dr. Boland will come up with a lot more.
Maybe also to address Trustee Martin, one of the reasons we've asked for disaggregated data, this has been a request across that stem from the APIs, because many of the APIs are all grouped under the typical Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans, and Korean Americans who are doing well, but we're not a homogeneous group. There's many different subgroups. And so we know that there are subgroups that have come more recently into this country who are not doing as well, and unfortunately they weren't receiving the resources they need because they were under this umbrella of success of these larger groups. So we not only found this in the API groups, we also found this among the African Americans, and you will see that the African American groups are now subgrouped. There's different areas, and so we have more recent immigrants. So we have Black Latinos who are also now, can now be identified, who have different issues than African Americans who have been here for many years. Likewise, the Latinos. So we see this across all of the groups. So this is one of the reasons it was the highest priority for all of the joint caucuses in the California community colleges to move this forward. And we were the only system that had not moved it forward. UCs and CSUs had already begun the expansion of their data.
Okay, I think we have,
Well, I'm
You
just
wanna
going to
follow
reply to that. So I think what I'm hearing is this is going to help us find the students that need the most help.
I think that's our hope, is for us
Yeah.
to really, I think Trustee Wall brings a good point. We've made some assumptions, and this data is going to help us undo those assumptions.
Okay, because I want to help every student that needs help, no matter which box they're in.
But students need different kinds of help. And because the code's written and Dustin can overlay this on any sorts of other student variables or attributes, we can now use it to pinpoint, let's say, are the right students, or do we know which students are getting tutoring services? Well, we can help with that now to really pinpoint it.
Okay, and I just don't want a student in the wrong color box or cluster to not be able to get the help they need because they may not have been in the right color.
Well, I don't think the color of the box or the cluster has anything to do with it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, but that's not the purpose of this at all.
Yeah.
It's not to eliminate groups, it's to find out who's in the groups and how we can help them.
Okay. So as a tool to find students that need help and figure out ways we can help them, I think that's wonderful.
That's what it's all about. It's equity.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. And as Trustee Wah already mentioned, I'm really pleased to see that we're, really starting to take a deep dive into the data disaggregation. And because this is new to me, I am going to ask some questions. And I'm going to start on page 3 of 7 of the handout. So what I think we're doing here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is first we're disaggregating down to 194 different categories, but then we're reaggregating that to these categories, for example, that are listed on page 3, rather than having, say, 194.
Well, it's
broken
kind
up.
of a yes or no, because there's 194 categories, but a student could choose any number of those.
Yeah.
Which is why when Dustin and Dan did the initial analysis, they found over 1,000 different combinations.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like disaggregating, but it's actually providing students with the opportunity to choose any number of race or ethnicities that they feel reflect them.
And what would have been a high number of choices that one student might have selected, like 2 or 3 or 4?
Oh, no, I think we saw some that chose 10 or more.
Yeah, okay.
We don't know if they were serious, but they were checked, so.
So as I look at the categories, the rows on page 3, just as one example, I see a category that says Mexican, other Hispanic or Latino, comma, other white. And then further down, there's Nicaraguan, other Hispanic or Latino. And then further down, there's another one, Mexican, Nicaraguan, other Hispanic or Latino. And then the next one after that is other Hispanic or Latino, other white. And then there's another one just that says Nicaraguan, and then another one, Mexican, other white. So I was just trying to understand the repetition of and just using that as an example, why we have a repetition in these different row categories. Does that question make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that these are all like discrete combinations, and these are just the top 20.
Okay.
Earlier we had mentioned that there's like nearly 1,000. So actually, I think built into here is if you uncheck collapse and then change it to expand, then it will actually show you that the 1,000 different.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Well,
we can't see that on our hard copy, but you can see that on your
pull it
interactive
down.
version.
Yeah. So
okay.
I think that so you can see that there are literally thousands of different combinations with multiple students identifying with those particular responses. So
so when you expand it all the way, you get the full 1,000
yeah,
disaggregated categories. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and the ones with blanks, the counts were below 10 probably, so they're below 10 students, so they become identifiable, which I think was part of the reason why we decided to do it this way, so that we're not targeting individual groups that have so few students that we can't even really talk about their outcomes reasonably. So I think this way was kind of our compromise to say that we've already built a lot of, we've done a lot of equity work and a lot of work in general on identifying Asian American students and Asian students in general, what can we do to incorporate this additional ancestry data to supplement it and break out the groups even further to kind of recognize that there is diversity within the Asian American community.
Okay, and then my next and final question on the handout page 4, which is that color graphic that you had up there. So some of these have specific labels on them, like for example, the yellowish mustard color is Hispanic / Latino and so on, and down below that the blue is Asian Chinese and so on. And then some of them over in the lower right corner don't have a label. Is that because the combinations just don't fit into those
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I couldn't fit the label
And
into
so then you
the
have
smaller squares.
those number designations, and they don't have a label like this because it's a blend across these other colored borders.
It's just that the label for that group couldn't fit into a smaller size box, but if you hover over this, it will tell you what options were chosen.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Silver.
Hi, thank you. This is really wonderful. I just have a question. So when somebody's choosing other Hispanic or Latino, does that mean even though we are giving so many choices, their choice isn't there, so they just checked other? So it's, why would a person pick other in whatever grouping?
Yes, I think there are further expansions that can occur. A student could not have had that option for them to choose, and so they picked other Hispanic or Latino. Even at 194, we're not exhausting all of the potential ancestries that are available. So over time, this may change. The working group or the chancellor's office may decide to add additional ancestry options.
I think I might have just answered my own question. It's because this expansion of groupings is so new, and you're going back 3 years. That's why, I think. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's also another explanation as to why.
Any other questions?
I think, well, the way that the other Hispanic or Latino comes in, I guess the part that I tried to cover was that the presentation format, it asks you, are you Hispanic or Latino, and then it expands it out. So if you just checked, I am Hispanic or Latino, then it'll record a response that you're other Hispanic or Latino. If you don't check anything below it, then I won't get any additional information. So the largest box on the left is actually a person who said, yes, I'm Hispanic or Latino, and they checked the Mexican box, like that, the expanded out box underneath it.
I see we have no other questions, so we want to thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you. Excellent job.
was
Excellent,
very
excellent
good.
job.
Okay, moving right along.
Crystal is the next one.
Crystal, what do you
Yeah.
got?
Hello. I know, a double dose of Crystal tonight. It's so much fun. So tonight, Redistricting Partners is back to present to you the 2020 Census Population Redistricting Maps
Oh,
for
that's
the
what I
district.
thought.
You
Okay.
met Chris Chafee last month on Zoom when he introduced the fundamentals of redistricting, and he is back tonight, live and in person, to walk you through the maps and options and rationale.
Thank you, Crystal.
I'll pop that up for you. You are good to go.
Thank you for having me back. Is it okay if I take off my mask?
Yes, yeah.
It's nice being in person for a change and not over Zoom. So thank you for having me. Again, my name is Chris Chafee. I'm from Redistricting Partners. And I'm excited to introduce, without further ado, your draft plans. Just to start, what is redistricting? It's something we do every 10 years with a new census to rebalance the district lines. And just as a slight repetition, there are really 5 traditional criteria that we use to do draft maps. The first one is we want to draw district lines that are relatively equal in size. The second is that we want to make sure all districts are contiguous. That means that they don't hop or jump, or there's not an island of one district in another. The third criteria is maintaining communities of interest. The fourth is following city and census designated places. And the final one is just we want compact districts. Oops, sorry. So these 3 plans are all themed. So the first one is a minimal change plan. Very slight change, only 2 districts actually shift. Draft map B seeks to unify cities as much as possible. And map C actually creates a new majority-minority district. So your current lines are before you. And we can see the population currently at the top. its total deviation is 14.3%. So under the equal population idea, local jurisdictions are allowed a tool of 10% total deviation. So you're just above that maximum total deviation, so we have to redraw your lines. So this is Plan A. Now, this plan has a very, very slight shift. So this overlay, the second map, you can see the draft lines are outlined in black, and your current lines are shaded. So the only change is in the northern part of 2, I don't think it's going to work, of 2 taking in a slight, a little bit more of Altadena from District 1. That's the only change. All the other districts, sorry, it's District 3 is taking from District 1, excuse me. The other districts are all exactly the same as your current lines. And that's because the largest district and the smallest district under the 2020 census is District 1 and District 3. So 3 was, I think, under-deviated by 7.7%, and District 1 was overpopulated by 6.6%. So this shift brings them a much closer in total population. And we can actually go to the next slide. And you can see from this slide that now District 3 is overpopulated by 0.2%, and District 1 is underpopulated by 1.3%. But the rest of the districts' total populations are exactly the same as they currently are under the 2020 census. This plan also, of course, keeps in place the 2 majority-minority districts in District 6 and 7 that you currently have. This maps total deviation is 6.7%, so we basically halved the total deviation that you currently have by making those switches between District 1 and 3. Option B really is keeps the changes between Districts 1 and 3 and also seeks to unify and keep whole the cities as much as possible. This is accomplished in District 7 by keeping Arcadia whole in that district. Also keeping South Pasadena whole and San Marino whole in District 5. And also basically altering some of the population in Districts 6 and 7. Keeping Rosemead whole in 6 and unifying most of Temple City into 2 different districts rather than in 3. And in this deviation is actually even better on total deviation. It's 4.7%. So it's well within that 10% total deviation. And then finally, district or Plan C, you can see has the greatest change, where District 1 has really now become much more compact and is concentrated around La Cañada and Pasadena. District 3 doesn't change, I don't think, at all from the previous 2 plans, so it's the same district. District 2 has basically lost a little bit of Pasadena, and you can see that District 5 now only has half of South Pasadena. It still has San Marino, but it expands and chops that foot of District 4 off, making District 4 a much more compact district that is mostly, I think it's actually all Pasadena. And then District 6 and 7 are similar construction. And the total population for this one, the total deviation, excuse me, is 7%. So I know that's a lot of information to work through. I also have, because the PDF maps don't show a lot of detail, I have HTML web maps so we can zoom into borders of different plans. We can also talk through changes you would like made for the next presentation before you with revised draft plans.
Could you go back to your first, the first
Yeah,
one, just so I could see the different deviations that you have?
sorry. Plan
Yeah,
A, right?
that one, okay, so
Okay,
number,
go.
yeah.
So if you, if you look at the top of the northern tip of District 3 in this plan, you can see that there is some blue in it, and that's Altadena that's being taken in from District 1 into District 3, and that's really the only change in this plan. It's just a population swap because those are the two districts that are most underpopulated and most overpopulated. So this is the one where we call this the minimal change, or the preserving the cores of current district lines. And it's something that a lot of agencies look to during the redistricting process. Because if it isn't broke, why fix it?
And what was the deviation you had?
This one had a total deviation of 6.7%.
Thank you, yeah. Any questions? Go ahead, John.
Thank you. So in the past, there's always been a desire to try to keep school districts together, even to the extent of it's more important to keep school districts together than it is to keep cities together. Taking Temple City, for example, it's a small city, and you can live in 3 different, depending on where you live in Temple City, you can be in one of 3 different school districts. And because at least there in some ways is as much community within a school district as there is within a city, just depending on what the topic is. And so my concern in a quick look at this, because obviously we walked into it, is it appears to me that some of these didn't consider keeping school districts together where possible, to the extent possible. I mean, I realize everything's to the extent possible, but it is possible to keep the Almani Elementary School District together. It is possible to keep the Rosemead Elementary School District together. It may or may not be possible, we know, with Temple City Unified, because it's always been a, right at the hub of the wheel here, but it may or may not be possible.
So
And the Arcadia School District together.
Yeah, so Rosemead and El Monte school districts, I believe, are kept whole or using the same lines as before.
In
Same
the
with
same
Arcadia.
lines as before they are.
Yeah, so those lines really haven't
And-
changed except for in Plan C.
Well, and I could be wrong, because again, I'm looking at a very small map, but it looks to me like you're parsing them, the El Monte School District, in both B and C.
That's how they currently are.
That's not how they currently are.
Okay. So plans.
Again, I'm looking at a little
districts
map.
6 and 7
Correct.
and 5 and 4 have no changes in map A.
No, I'm not talking about A, I'm talking about
Okay.
B and C.
Right, so B and C are slight changes, you're right, to Temple.
Right. In B and C, you're splitting the El Monte School District, if
Okay.
I'm viewing it correctly.
Okay,
That
I
little
can-
appendage of 6, the appendage of 6 that wraps down below Live Oak is in the El Monte School District.
Okay, then we can make changes to align to school district lines, but if you're looking to align to school district lines and your current lines already do that, then Plan A is
No,
probably
in
the
our-
best option.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that I know our existing ones, that was the sensitivity when we did these.
Okay.
And it just seems to me, and there might be other deviations you can do in B and C. I mean, we're talking about a small appendage that could go back into 6, and there might be some other acceptable part of Arcadia schools that might be in those that could go back, or something, or at least no further harm in splitting others.
I think our challenge was that your current lines are so aligned to the school districts that we really, by changing them, unaligning them to some extent, if that makes sense. That's why Plan A is so similar, where there's just one line shift into expanding Altadena in District 3. We can go back and look if you'd like for B and C, but I think probably what will happen is you'll see a lot of maps very, very similar to A, which is the minimal change because your line's already so well aligned to the USD lines.
Okay. Can we move on to someone else?
You can move on.
Yes? Okay, I think Sandra and then Tony.
I appreciate these versions of the maps. I'm sure you're really busy drawing a lot of other districts as well. So I have a couple comments. Number one is that, when we look at the student population here at PCC, we're looking at 52 to 54% Latino students. And if we're looking at these districts' maps, the Latino population in 3, 4, and 6 would be districts that have high Latino population. So when you were looking at these maps, were the Latino population and voting population taken into account of how this could be drawn?
So with redistricting, one of the things we have to be guided by is the Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act, which basically says that you can't draw district lines predominantly based on racial factors unless you have a Section 2 compliance issue where you have a proven history of racially polarized voting and an ethnic minority that's concentrated and can make a majority of a district. So there's kind of this back and forth that we have to do when we draw.
Mm-hmm.
So because we know we can't get to a majority-minority Latino seat, we're not going to only draw based on Latino populations and concentrations, but we can, when we're looking at city splits, when we're looking at other neighborhoods and other data points, we can be informed secondarily or by the Latino population. So we did take them into consideration, but they weren't a primary factor in drawing the lines.
No, I understand, because what you're saying is that the Latino population is very much spread out during the district, so it's not concentrated in one area.
Exactly.
So then, to my second comment on the Asian population then, so in the third version, Plan C, you're looking at an Asian majority minority, and can you just tell me a little bit about how you what your thoughts are on that?
And that's really where we get into the Section 2 question. We would need to do a further analysis to tell us whether we have to draw the third majority-minority seat, because under the Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act, you have to pass what's called the Gingell's test from the Supreme Court, and the first prong is drawing majority-minority seats. So we know we can do that. So the second and third prongs are a question of, are the minorities, Latino or API or African American, whatever the protected class is, voting as a block for a candidate of choice, and consistently, and the third, being outvoted by the majority around them so that they can't elect the candidate of their choice. And that's a statistical analysis that we'd have to do. And usually redistricting partners won't do the RPV or the analysis. We like to have a third party do it, just so that it's double checked, both on two sides.
You can tell Paul that he can do it.
Okay, I'll tell him. I'm sure he's in Long Beach right now, arguing over their draft maps. But so we would look to like an analysis of that, and then depending on the outcomes of those two, the second and third prong, then it's a question. Then it's you either must do it or you don't have to. And I think with this plan, with Plan C, it's one of those where we happened upon it. It wasn't that we were focused on drawing another majority-minority seat, but the way that the lines are constructed, with how districts, 4, 7, and 5 kind of come together around Temple City. I think in drawing Plan B, we saw the opportunity to create that third majority-minority seat that isn't drawn or isn't really there yet because of the way the lines were drawn in 2010.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Tony?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to congratulate you. I've been through redistricting in my long political career many times, and you seem to have done it with ease and very conscientious, and I'm one who likes cities to be together. I think it's important, no matter what political office it is, and so I probably will support B. But thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you. The other thing that I just want to point out is that if you really want to get into the specific borders between districts, there is a web map available to you where you can really zoom in and see street detail and zoom out to see kind of overlays. And we really want to make that available to anyone we work with, because I know how important it is to kind of know where your neighborhood is, know where your kids go to school, and you know, the other factors when you're thinking through this redistricting process.
Yes, thank you. So, I'm always in favor of trying to create communities of interest if we can, but in looking at Plan C, it does certainly slice through a lot of communities and districts, which probably wouldn't be good. So on draft Plan B, I'm just looking at the analysis. So that does not create a third community of interest, is that correct? It's still the only 6 and 7 are the two.
Exactly.
Okay. So what did we adjust for in Plan B? I'm not sure.
So you can see South Pasadena is whole now in District 5, with San Marino also whole. More of Temple City is now in District 5, and Arcadia is whole in District 7.
Okay, so we moved some of what used to be in District 4 District 4 back to 7.
Exactly. So
keep it whole.
if you see like in 4 those like hands that go into Arcadia, those have been chopped off. Those are in Arcadia, in the city, and they've been now unified in District 7.
Okay, so Plan B creates the least, reduces the deviation, keeps our districts pretty much together. Is there anything that's taken out that was in Plan A before?
I mean, I think as your fellow colleague pointed out, it does not align perfectly to the USDs. It follows the city lines instead. So that's like kind of the trade-off between A and B.
So which districts got chopped? Was
I
it
think
El Monte?
El Monte and
El Monte schools is chopped.
In Arcadia, I think you had said.
Oh, okay.
I think Temple City's chopped and Temple City Unified's chopped, but Temple City's going to get chopped no matter
Temple
what
City
you do.
was divided among 3 of us anyway.
You can't avoid that.
Right. So John, I'm not sure where you got chopped. I'm just trying to compare the
Well,
maps.
if you look at the pink
eastern-
appendage on B and C,
Eastern corner.
which is on the very bottom, kind of, it looks exactly like your appendage. You look at your body, and then there's this appendage dropping down. That appendage is El Monte Schools.
Okay.
And
thank
so
you.
my suggestion would be to put that back in 6. You can still keep the city of Arcadia whole, but you would have to work on your purple and your 5 and your 4 and 5 and how you slice Temple City to give 6 what you're trying, to get 7 what you're trying to give 7. Obviously, you're trying to get 7 more population. But Temple City's already sliced.
Right.
And has more or as much affinity to the city of Arcadia as the El Monte school portion of LA County that you're appendaging with Arcadia City, because it happens to have an Arcadia mailing address.
Right.
So it seems to me the appendage ought to go back into 6.
Got it.
And you need to bring Temple City further south down into 6. It's going to be split anyway. And move 7, have 7 where it leaves the city of Arcadia, moving back into Temple City where it's been for a long period of time, and at least keep the El Monte together. I would think if you made a concerted effort to do that, I think you could.
I think especially where we have small districts, those are the ones we should keep together. I mean, certainly PUSD is so large that we can't, so it's got to be split among at least 4 of the trustees. But yeah, where we have small districts, we try and keep them together.
Okay, Trustee Silver.
Yes, okay, but John, I had these crazy curls into Arcadia in my District 4
yeah,
that
those are ridiculous.
do not make any sense. Those poor people in those curls, they belong with Arcadia.
I said that 10 years ago
Yeah,
when it
okay,
came out.
so thank you for decurling my district. And then is there a website where, because I am assuming I'm still living in my district, but I want to double check.
Yeah,
And so is there a website where we can see this so we can expand to see the streets?
I believe it should be on your webpage
Oh,
already. You
the
should be able-
PCC?
I believe so. I think the PDFs and the web links are available. If not, we'll make sure, we'll work with your staff and make sure that they're up tomorrow. I can email them again and we can make it work so that you can have access to it from wherever.
Okay, thank you.
And Trustee Silver, just for your information, one of the reasons they did that, and I know there was a lot of discussion at the board, was because Area 7 would have been our largest community of interest that we could have created, which I think is a good thing for our communities. But they would have been overpopulated without removing some of that population. They would have been off from everyone else. So that was one of the reasons you have those little curls. Yeah, not ideal, but that was to create the community of interest.
Okay, go ahead, trustees.
Chris, so if I'm looking at your explanation about Plan C in terms of creating a majority-minority district, and I'm looking at the census, and you're looking at the Asian population in 5, 6, and 7, in 5, the Asian population will be 47.7%. In District 6, it's 55.3%, and in District 7, it's 64.3%. Can you tell me what your thoughts are as you were looking at Asian district for the third majority-minority district?
Yeah, here, actually, let me pull it up. Let's see, this is A. Okay, so this is C. And if you look at the citizen voting age populations of draft Plan C, you can see that the Asian population of District 5 is 50.8, District 6 is 56.1, and District 7 is 54.6. So that's what I'm referring to.
But also when you look at the majority-minority district, this is a version of it, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be. You could draw it in many ways that you want to create the majority-minority. It's really many versions.
Yeah, you're completely right on this. We could draw it in a number of different ways. One of the things that we tried to do with Plan C was create the majority-minority seat that we found, basically when we were drawing B, but not alter the lines in a dramatic fashion because we hadn't heard any pushback or any community of interest testimony saying, these lines are untoward, they have to change, we need better representation in this part of the district or in that part of the district. So with that understanding, we basically use the current lines as a starting point, and then we're still able to draw that third majority-minority district. And you can see that the biggest trade-off between B and C is that South Pasadena, is whole in B, but is split almost in half in Plan C. And you take off, District 4 gets compact, moves north, and doesn't have any part of Temple City in it, or it has very little part of Temple City in it, excuse me.
Right, and part of this is to address the demographic changes in the Asian population in the district, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Oh, we have one more
Well,
question?
I would like to request that they go back and make the small modifications we were discussing to try, to try to keep the El Monte School District together. And I think it would have, and, you know, with your professional guidance, I think you could keep the El Monte School District together and realigning 4 and 5, giving 7 some of that, and realizing that, and I've been doing this for 40 years, there's no way to keep Temple City together. We know that. So, but without doing more harm, at least keep the El Monte School District and the El Monte community there together with the rest of District 6. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
And
I think it really makes sense.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
wish we could get a draft on that before it goes
Absolutely.
to the next level, because
So-
this is obviously the first chance we get to see it. So that would make a lot of sense to me, and I think, just looking at this, I think it's possible, and still keep some resemblance of a normal line, because I totally agree with you. I think I voted against it 10 years ago because of the crazy, it looks like the Fighting Irish logo there.
Right.
That's what I always think of when I see it.
Okay, so would that be it then?
That would be my, I
Any
can make
other-
such a motion if you need a motion,
I am wondering, do we? We don't.
or is that direction enough?
That direction is enough, and I think if there's
Okay.
other elements of the plans that you want to have revisions of, I think this is a clear revision of. So Plan B2 would be would be the new revised plan.
Yeah, I
I
think B is the most.
Hold on, I think Jim has. his
Just a
hand up.
quick question. We have time to make these relatively minor tweaks and stay on schedule?
Yeah, your deadline isn't until February 28th of next year, so you have lots of time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Trustee Watt.
No, I was just going to say, it seems like B seems the most reasonable with some additional tweaking. Yeah, well, it'd be great to have another community of
Tony, any
interest.
questions? Okay, so,
I do have one more
Pardon me?
comment. I do have one more comment.
okay,
Okay,
let's.
great. So, you know, I know that you mentioned that February 28th is the last time, is the last date to submit this, where the filing deadline for election is March 11th. So, you know, for folks who may be
Do you
in
have
or,
a primary?
we don't.
Yeah, so your next election is until November of 2022,
No,
right?
no, it's June.
It's June.
Yeah, it's June, and then the filing is for March
Oh, then
11th. So I'm just saying
I'm
this.
sorry, then
Yeah, I'm just saying that some of us may be out of our districts.
I'm wrong. So, okay, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. So your deadline would be December 15th.
Okay, great, thank you.
But we can, I still think we have enough time to do revisions and come back in, we can be back in November and a couple times in November if you want us, or, you know, once in November and once in December. I apologize. For some reason, I thought it's on us that we have your election wrong.
We were talking about having to add a meeting anyway for other purposes?
For redistricting?
No, I'm just saying we could add this to that. We were going to have a
Well, we could
special,
have- Well, we'll have,
Discussion.
we'll have the superintendent coordinate that. Okay, you can add that to that. I'll be out of town, so I trust you guys will be doing a good job by then.
We could zoom you in.
To be determined.
Yeah, we have to vote on it.
Right.
I do? Okay, so we want to thank you, and
Thank you.
our superintendent will arrange with you, and we'll go to our next chapter. Good presentation. Okay. I like that you did these before, so they don't have to sit around all day. Okay, so next on the agenda is our calendar for, what is it, consent items. Okay, from E1 to G20, and we did, which one did we remove?
Remove G17.
Okay, so I will.
motion to approve as amended, removing G17.
Second?
Very good. Thank you. Any discussion? If not, raise your hand if you approve. Oh, I like this. Thank you. Okay, all in favor, we got that. All right, next is, let's turn the page.
H, personnel.
Okay, personnel. I'm lost. Okay, here we go. Okay.
Motion to approve.
And I'll second that. And
Oh,
also,
he's rushing down. Look at it.
can I just add, I always like to
Jim just got
congratulate
back into
people
town.
on behalf of the board. Mei Ling Chin, who's retiring after 26 years in the lab, department lab technician in mathematics. So congratulations.
Okay, so do we have a motion? We have a motion. We have a second,
We have a
right?
motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Students don't trustee? Okay. All
Trustee Chen Lao.
agreed. Did you vote?
No.
Okay, she did now.
Yeah, the student trustee.
I know. Okay, you got that, Mary? Thank you. Okay, now we're going to action items. Action item number 1, adopt resolution 695 to order by, I could never say that word, by whatever governing board election.
And I just want to point out that Trustee Silver pointed out that we had a typo there on that resolution. It should say that there are 4 members, areas 1, 3, 5, and 7, that shall be elected on June 7th. So,
Thank you. So do we have a motion?
Move to approve with correction.
With
Second.
correction, and
Second.
second by Sandra. Okay, all in favor? Excellent. Next will be agenda item number 2, adopt resolution 696, method of payment and word limitation for candidate statement.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and we got a second. Any discussion? If not, if you approve, please raise your hand. Linda, do you approve?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the third is nomination of Tammy Silver for any one of the 5 committees of the Association of Community College Trustees.
Move to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion to approve, and we have a second? Okay, all in favor? Okay, excellent. I do have a question, though. And it kind of, I just want to, for the record, my name is on the nomination. You know you're nominated, but when I read the can we put up that letter? Where is the letter? The nomination.
yeah, the letter is in here.
Can we
Oh,
just
here,
bring
I'll
it
give
up
it to
so
you.
I could, I just wanted to comment on something. Because I know that the board, it says here, our great Tammy, but then here, the bottom part is what drew my attention. It says, if Tammy's nomination is successful, or our institution, PCC, the board members, we are committed to providing financial support for her services and as an ACT board member, including participation and blah, 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 right? So my question to this is this something that we, board members, can expect PCC to get involved into giving them, you know? I just want to know if there is a way that this is done, mingling resources of PCC and financial things. I need that clarified.
So I think if I understand your question, does PCC have a history of paying for the expenses of board members who choose to serve on statewide and national committees? The answer is yes.
Thank you. And
The reason it's important to note this is that just in speaking with trustees while at the ACCT conference and in other venues, this actually has been an issue on some boards where there is a lack of diversity of individuals who are board officers, and part of it is because that district that they're in, number one, they're not asked or they're not recognized as individuals who should be in the board officer rotation, But secondly, there are actually districts out there who say, well, if you want to be involved in an ACCT or a statewide office, we'll pay for one conference a year, but you need to pay for everything else yourself. And that's a pretty tall order, especially if individuals are in, rural or places where it's hard to get to. So this is a statement that the board believes in trustee service at the state and at the national level.
Very good. Do anyone else have any thought? Because I just wanted to clarify. So basically, that's the only way the trustees can get resources from the college.
That is correct.
I just want to make that clear.
Yes, the board has the ability to set a limit if the trustees wanted to say, every board member can do, we encourage professional development and you can do anything up to $10,000 or $20,000, whatever the number is. Mm-hmm. This board traditionally has not made that distinction and has instead really encouraged trustees to engage in professional development and to not have money be an issue.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay.
So, excuse me.
Go ahead.
So, President and Jonas, so what you're saying is that unless we are in a budget crunch, this type of activities are budgeted for trustees to participate in, correct?
Yes, there is money for trustees to participate. If we were in a budget crunch, if we were in a budget crisis, this would be one of the things that Vice President Candace Jones and I would talk with the board about, especially as we were doing the tentative budget and then the final budget approval. If we felt that there needed to be some limitation to trustee expenses, then we would mention it, but at this point in time, that is not our position.
Okay, so in best practice, do boards put a limit on their expenses?
Not usually.
Okay.
No.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Tammy, you're all ready to go. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, let's move on to...
Do we need to take a vote?
Yes, you need to take a vote.
Thank you.
Thought we already did.
We've moved and seconded.
For a motion and a
So,
second.
Yeah.
please raise your hand if you agree. Thank you. Thank
Tammy
you.
agrees.
Thank you, Tammy. Okay, item number 4, adoption of education protection account funding and expenditures.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, if you're all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion, okay. All right. Oh, looking at now, we're going to number 5. Approve the memorandum of understanding between Pasadena Area Community College District and Pasadena City College Police Officers Association for the 2019-22 collective bargaining agreement. Any questions, discussion?
Second.
We have a first and we have a second. All agree?
I abstain.
Very good.
I have an abstention.
You have an abstention? Okay, all right.
Mr. President, unless there was questions, I would move to approve item 7, board policy, the board bylaws that are outlined and board policies outlined in 7, 8, 9, and 10 under one motion.
Oh, look at them.
We have
Trustee Martin,
6,
can
though.
we do 6 first?
Let's do
Oh, I'm
6,
sorry.
and then we can do those. Yeah.
Or if you
Cue
do
me up
6.
cue me up when 6 is done.
Okay, we'll cue you up when 6 is done. Go ahead.
Seems like you're ready to go home. But me too. Okay, so approve modifications and additions to the credit and non-credit curriculum. Do we have a motion?
I'll move 6.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Okay, now, trustee.
Now, with your permission, I'd like to move that we approve items 7, 8, 9, and 10, which are the board bylaws and board policies, as I don't think there were any questions.
Second.
Do we have any questions or discussions? Everyone agreed? Okay, so all in favor? Excellent. Okay, it seems like we are through. Information items, Superintendent President.
Okay, well, first I just want to say welcome back to campus. It's great to see everybody in three-dimensional and, it's awesome. Just so everyone knows, we will have our general board meetings face-to-face every month, but we will continue to meet remotely for committee meetings. Those are often in the later afternoon, and we found that that's successful, so we have a mixed approach there. And I just want to thank everybody who's here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being socially distanced and wearing masks and doing all that fun stuff. Our late start fall classes started on Monday. I believe we had 230 classes starting in the second half of our fall semester. We are already looking forward to the beginning of spring 2022. The spring term starts January 4th. We do not have a winter intersession, and we will finish our spring term in May and then have 2 back-to-back summer sessions. And I believe the summer schedule goes live next Monday. So, and we have, I believe, Dr. Ramirez, 70%, 65 to 70% of our spring classes are face-to-face, 50% capacity. Is that correct? Okay, great. So we are so looking forward to welcoming back a lot of folks to our campus in the spring. As Trustee Wah already mentioned, we were at the ACCT conference, the Association of Community College Trustees conference this last week. Tammy Silver was there as well, and Linda and I were fortunate to give a presentation with Kern County trustee Nan Gomez Heitzberg and our acting chancellor, state chancellor Daisy Gonzalez, and our presentation was about the Women's Caucus and also the push for gender equity, and we had a pretty good showing, especially some folks from out of state, so that was great. That was really fun. Now, I will tell you that our very own trustee Linda Wah was elected to be ACCT director for the Pacific region. She also, worked like a dog and managed to get a bunch of Californians plus a Washingtonian elected to represent the Pacific region. And I just want to tell you, if you want to have a statewide or a national kind of office like that, she's a monster. I mean, she was going 24/7, and in the end, she won elections, so congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
Trustee Wah is our ward boss.
Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you, she was on top of it. Okay, the California legislative session is finished in Sacramento. Governor Newsom gave the final yes to or no to 836 bills. He only vetoed 8% of them, but unfortunately for us, he vetoed a really important bill related to increasing Cal Grant access for our students. And that's significant because it not only limits the amount of money, but it also keeps in place age and other requirements that really continue this idea that Cal Grants, some financial aid streams in our state are still for traditional age students, even as we see our adult and part-time population growing in our state. So very unfortunate. Our acting chancellor, Dr. Daisy Gonzalez, the day that we did our presentation, had a great opportunity to express her displeasure to the governor's office. And she is a great advocate for us out there. There were some interesting bills on transfer pathways and other funding opportunities for colleges. He also signed a bill that makes the existing 15 baccalaureate degrees that were approved conditionally about 5 years ago. Those are now permanently approved, and there is an opportunity to add 30 bachelor's degrees across the state. So that'll be something that we start having a conversation about, whether or not PCC would like to propose a bachelor's degree. That was due to the exceptional work of Dr. Constance Carroll, who just retired as the San Diego Community College Chancellor. This was the bane of her existence for her final years in that role. Her goal really had been, in starting that, to allow us to do Bachelor of Science in Nursing degrees, but the CSUs really fought us on that because they would rather just have more money for their programs. Not that we're bitter. On Monday, Trustee Brown, Trustee Waugh, along with Will Sims and Candace Jones, as well as a visiting dean from San Bernardino Valley College, Dr. Vanessa Thomas, who I happen to be mentoring. We had a great tour of PCC Northwest. We took a look at what's happening there, and we will be scheduling a kind of a brand new opening for that facility now that especially the first floor and the Welcome Center have been finalized. I think you'll be quite impressed with what has happened there. It's amazing, the work that has been done and the plans for being there, so it's really exciting. Tomorrow night, the Shapford Library will be one of 8 local commercial properties recognized by the Pasadena Beautiful Foundation. This group honors landscape and exterior design around Pasadena. The Commercial Design Award recognizes exceptional commercial landscape that enhances the cities. And I just want to say congratulations to our facilities crew, Shapford Library faculty and staff, and all who make that library and this campus just an amazing destination. Athletics is back. We have seasons underway, and we are allowing spectators to attend events, but they do need to be masked. They do need to go through our vaccine protocol in order to attend. I will actually be attending our homecoming football game this coming Saturday against Compton College, and Dr. Keith Curry, the president of Compton College, will be my guest at that game, so we're very much looking forward to it. And our football team, it has a record of 4-2, and thank you, Coach Tucker, who is our brand new, this is his first season as our coach. Also in athletics, our women's soccer team made history last week with 12 goals, which was the first time with double-digit scoring since 1998. And tonight, our women's volleyball team is on the court against Mount Sac, hoping to continue their 10-game winning streak. And of course, this wouldn't be Los Angeles without saying, "Go Dodgers."
Does anybody know the score?
No. You know, I worked in a district where there was a trustee who used to announce the score throughout every single game, just so you know.
5-0.
5-0.
Seriously?
Braves.
Oh, that's not good. This is make or break. That's not good. And I just want to follow up on some of our public comment at the beginning. We will be adjourning tonight in memory of Andre Patzikowski. Andre was a student involved in our Ascend Men of Color program and associated students, and he has been remembered this month for his presence on campus and his friendships with those who knew and loved him. And we send our thoughts out to his family and friends. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Audrey Jonas. And now we will go to the reports from Academic Senate. Do we have someone from Academic Senate?
Oh, there we go.
Hi. Veronica Jaramillo, the Vice President of Academic Senate, and I wanted to say Happy National Chemistry Week to you all. It's like an exciting week for chemists. Okay, so the Academic Senate has had some visitors. So we had Dr. Cynthia Olivo, who was kind enough to come to the Senate and update us on student services that are available and planned activities. So that was very nice for us. We've also been getting committee updates from our standing and ad hoc committees. So the Learning Assessment Committee had a presentation with Dr. Jennifer Feibig, and she told us that the Learning Assessment Committee is working on training faculty on using Illumin and keeping up with our SLO processes. And we had a presentation from the Accreditation Standing Committee. So Dr. Thea Alvarado came and told us about our reaccreditation and our commendations and our need to work on disaggregating student learning outcomes with achievement data. So we'll be working on that. And we've been doing our normal business of approving academic or administrative procedures and putting faculty on hiring committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Classified Senate, please.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
You can stay up there, Veronica.
Yeah, you can stay with me. Hi, good evening, everyone. The Classified Senate would like to welcome Jennifer Alvarez as our newly appointed senator today. Jennifer is the administrative assistant in the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, and we're so happy to have her. The Senate will also host our fall general meeting next Friday, October 29th from 11 to 1. This will be in a hybrid format. The first hour will be via Zoom, and then the second will be in person in the quad. Our goal is to inform the staff of recent changes made to BPs and APs that directly affect classified professionals that now reflect policies seen through an equity lens. Aside from this, we'd just like to re-engage classified back to the campus. Some of our senators will be attending 4CS, which is a statewide conference that will bring all California Community College classified senates together. And finally, we'd like to recognize Elizabeth Garcia, who served 11 years at PCC in financial aid, and we wish her the best as she joins the College of the Sequoias. And last but not least, we would also like to recognize Mei Ling Chang for her contributions to the Classified Senate, her service to students in the math department, and 26 years of service to PCC. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I see the Management Association. She's all ready to roll.
Hi, good evening. So as part of my announcements, I kind of just want to showcase some of the work our managers are doing beyond their roles at PCC. And so tonight, two of them are Dr. Isela Osagueda participated in a panel earlier today on college leaders' role in centering race in faculty hiring with other prestigious leaders, Keith Curry, Mike Munoz, and Thuy Nguyen, who are all college presidents. The event was sponsored by USC Race and Ethnicity Center and Estela Ben-Simon Associates. So we're really proud of Isela and the work she's doing. And also Dr. Jason Robinson, our expert director of professional development here at Pasadena City College, is involved in a nationwide racial equity leadership academy that is a collaborative project between Achieving the Dream and the USC Race and Equity Center. Dr. Robinson's role is to provide coaching to president cabinets, consciousness, and organizational change. So we showcase that our managers are beyond all the work they do here at PCC, and so we're really proud of them. Also, we've also had some very productive meetings with our colleagues on Classified Senate and Academic Senate, really working to improve communication and collegiality moving forward and setting some new standards for our mutual groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Great report. Associated students, Mr. Emmanuel.
Okay, good evening. Good to see you all in person finally. Okay, so I first want to start off by saying congratulations to Mr. Ramirez, your appointment. Also, I'd like to shout out the VP of Campus Activities, who has been leading our homecoming activities. Monday we had in this Krebling Lounge, we had drag bingo, which I think was very interesting. I want to acknowledge that the Association of Latino Employees modified the original Loteria and provided that to us. Also, there was pumpkin painting in the quad during the college hour yesterday. Kind of avoided knives this time. Also, tonight, there is a silent movie. They will be screening the modern It, and that's going on in the quad from 7 to 10 p.m. tonight. Tomorrow, there will be a pep rally in the quad during college hour as well, as we prepare for the football game against Compton on Saturday here at Robinson Stadium. I would like to also let you all know that we now have a full board, including a secretary.
Good.
So I believe that, if we've been efficient, we're going to be better moving forward. Also, I guess just for the record, I attended the PCC Foundation Board of Directors meeting on the 21st of September, the Facilities Committee on the 22nd, the Board of Trustees Fall Retreat on the 27th, also the Ad Hoc Naming Committee on the 30th, and the Board Accreditation and Policy Review Committee on the 8th of October, which we also recently had a special meeting where we went over the commitment to diversity, BP 7100. We reviewed that and adopted that, or approved of it, and that was on the 8th of October. Also, something great that I think that we've done is that we are all now board docs trained and EEO trained. So we will be publishing our agendas, minutes, you name it, within the board docs software or portal. And also, we'll be able to sit in more hiring committees, of course, as we're invited to them. So we're very happy about that. We also have been able to reel in other students that aren't at the table usually. Equipo, Student Advisory, and Black as well. Some of them have been EEO trained as well, so we can consider them valuable candidates for these hiring committees. And last but not least, on September 29th, the Associated Students adopted a resolution, and it was carried with a 6-1-2 vote. And I'd like to read that to you all tonight. I need to breathe. Okay, so titled Resolution Condemning the Board Approval of the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the Pasadena City College Faculty Association, FA, regarding the Return to Campus Agreement for fall semester 2021. Okay, so whereas the California Code of Regulations Title V mandates that the California Community College districts shall have policies and procedures to ensure that students' concerns are given adequate consideration on all topics that will have a significant effect on students. And whereas the Associated Students of Pasadena City College does not claim a right to representation within collective bargaining and union negotiations, however, student body associations are entitled to the right to voice student concerns when decisions significantly impact the student body. And whereas the Pasadena Area Community College District Board of Trustees on August 18th, 2021, approved a memorandum of understanding with provisions that had a significant effect on students. And whereas at the Board of Trustees meeting on August 18, 2021, no attempt was made to seek student comment regarding a decision that impacted students, and little advance notice was given regarding the consideration of a memorandum of understanding with significant impacts to students. And whereas the Pasadena Area Community College District failed to provide students a proper notice of significant effects of the significant effects to their education when hundreds of emergency Form Ds were granted last minute. Full approval, which allowed individual faculty to decide whether their scheduled in-person classes could be changed to virtual with less than a week before the first day of the fall 2021 semester, dated August 23rd, 2021. And whereas individual faculty have conveyed conflicting messages to students regarding their options to remain in person or to switch to distance education courses. And whereas, as a result of these actions, many students who were seeking in-person courses with in-person support, particularly international, non-traditional, low-income, first-generation, and system-impacted students, have now been displaced in their educational aspirations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College express disappointment and disapproval in the decision made by the District Faculty Association and the Board of Trustees on August 18th, 2021, to approve a memorandum of understanding without consulting students and without offering them an opportunity to participate in the formulation of the policy or procedure or the joint development of recommendations regarding the action, as regulated to community college districts by Title V California Code of Regulations, Section 51023.7, and resolved that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College requests that the Pasadena Area Community College District considers offering more in-person instruction by adding face-to-face sections to late start sessions, and be it further resolved that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College ask that Pasadena Area Community College District to make it a practice of the college to consult students on any decisions that significantly impact them, as we pursue our system-wide vision for success to always design and decide with the student in mind. So I signed that, and people who voted on that was Natalie Guzman, Jay Huang, Jillian Russo, Felicia Hui, Christian Montoya, and David Ramirez. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Okay, next we will hear from our student trustee.
Hello. Firstly, I want to say thank you to everyone who has given me a super warm and welcoming me. I'm very super happy to be serving in this role again, hopefully with a more active presence on campus where I'm actually able to interact with students and administrators and trustees. I wasn't able to do that last year. I did that through a drive-through with like 10 feet apart, so hopefully this year will be different. I also wanted to say thank you. I was very grateful to attend the ACCT conference in San Diego this past weekend. I was able to connect with student trustees from across the nation, all experiencing the same pandemic, but experiencing it with different campuses and different state regulations. I must say I feel really grateful to be in California. I really feel for my student trustees in Texas who have to reconcile with going to school with no masks. So that was, I feel for them. I'm happy to be in California. We were also able to create a national student trustee committee structure in support of federal advocacy. And our main areas of focus would be financial aid reform, mental health resources, and student engagement. Hopefully I can serve in an official member capacity, so I will be asking for a letter of support just as Trustee Silver did at our next meeting. I also just wanted to reiterate the importance of the resolution that Emmanuel reported out. Many of our students are hurting, myself included, Emmanuel included, and many still don't know what to expect for the spring semester. So hopefully we can include students in the discussions that will impact in-person course availability for spring semester, and I just look forward to working closely with you all in this next year.
Thank you. Welcome back. Trustee Cheng Lau.
Thank you. First of all, let me just thank everyone for being here tonight. I know that while it's my first in-person meeting, many of the staff and faculty and students have been on campus for quite some time. So thank you for working and being back on campus. I have 2 items to report on. I want to thank Senator Portantino, who co-hosted with me on a recent discussion with K through 12 school board members from La Cañada, San Marino, and Pasadena. And some of the issues that we discussed was vaccine mandates, mask mandates, and also the return back to school. The other item that I would like to report on is that on November 22nd, I will be hosting a coffee and tea. But this time, it won't just be me. I have a guest with me, and he is the New York Times writer and author with a recent book out called The Loneliest Americans. And what he advocated for in his recent New York Times article is for all UCs to accept California community college transfers as a broad measure for equity. So I hope you will join me November 22nd from 7 to 8 to have this conversation with Jay, Caspi, and Kang. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Fellow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do miss Alex Bucklehide, though, and I think on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I think you'll all join me. He did a yeoman's job for a year and a half with remote meetings. I just want to congratulate him. I don't know if he's here.
And he isn't because his daughter has COVID.
Oh.
Yes.
Best he's
She's
still
doing fine, but that's why he is not here with us
But
today.
he did a great job. I just want to mention one thing. This might be a future agenda item. The president mentioned the new laws by Governor Newsom, and one of them that I've been involved with is the laws dealing with the Brown Act and extending meetings to remote meetings. And a law, as you know, was passed in cases of emergency by state, on the state, local, and federal level, that you can automatically go into emergency meetings remotely. However, we do have to vote, all the boards I've been on, you have to vote every month to extend that. And I think this probably deals with committee meetings. I don't think we can have a committee meeting without voting we have to vote every month to extend that provision. So, but check with lawyers, though, so we don't get into any problems. But all of the boards I've sat on, they've had to go back and vote, like for November to have remote meetings, and then in November we have to vote for December. So we might want to check on that, okay?
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Silver.
Nothing to report.
Really?
Oh, maybe I attended ACCT with
you
Dr.
did?
Jonas
You
and
did?
Linda.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
okay.
I know you did a lot.
Okay.
You've been busy. How is my traveler over there?
I think Trustee Silver does have a report. Yes or no, Tammy?
Oh, okay, I will. I'll
Yeah,
just
please, go ahead.
be short, but I learned a lot. It was wonderful, the meeting after meeting about DEI, and I could sit in the audience and nod my head because we are already doing so much, and it makes me feel so proud to be a Lancer and know we are really thinking of our students first.
Go, girl. Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Nothing really to report other than to a follow-up comment on Dr. Androjanas's comment that unfortunately Governor Newsom did veto the Cal Grant bill. However, he signaled that he felt like that should be something that they're doing in their annual budget efforts. So I don't think all is lost there. And also, I just heard today at the federal level, they have probably taken free community college off of the agenda. However, in lieu thereof, they're talking about expanding the Pell Grants, and that would actually be more impactful to us here in California because community college is almost already free, but expanding the Pell Grants would allow our students to use those funds for other non-tuition costs, like transportation and cost of living and so on. So stay tuned. The federal budget is always a fast-changing thing, but we could get back what we lost in the Cal Grants with Pell Grants at the federal level. And that concludes my report.
Trustee Martin.
No report.
Thank you, Trustee Watt.
So just to piggyback a little bit on what Trustee Osterling said. Yes, this was discussed, the danger of removing free college from community college out of the free college funding. So I think this is probably something we're going to focus on when we go to the NLS, which is the Legislative Conference in February. So for those of you who are into advocacy at that level, it would be great. Anyway, I do want to thank everyone, all of my California trustees who really helped, and our Pacific Region partners who really helped get all of our Pacific Region candidates into offices. But I especially want to thank Trustee Osterling, who was on the Pacific Region nominating chair, or not the chair, but I guess you were on the nominating committee, and I think you were very instrumental in making sure that we had really great candidates and we made sure that it got supported. So California is definitely getting more strategic in this. And one of the things that, as Dr. Intrajohns brought up, we had a survey done of trustees and where they were in leadership. And one of the things that came up were, how do trustees move up, and do we have trustees who aren't given that opportunity? Also, one of the things we find is that trustees who actually engage in professional development and take advantage of the training both at the state and the national level probably have a greater success in trustee leadership. So something for us to really think about, just even whatever we do here at the district. So that is it.
Thank you. So the only thing I would like to report was how happy I was to see the progress that is over at John Muir High School. Without seeing, you don't know. So we had the opportunity to walk and look, and it's quite refreshing. And we really are going to encourage Dr. Andrew Jonas to have the trustees see where their money is put out to work. It looks really, really nice. And I appreciate all the work that has been done. Will is doing a good job. Building looks fabulous. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have proposed future board business meetings. Those shouldn't change, right?
Yeah, so basically, as we've referenced a couple of times, we'll be doing a poll to see trustee availability for a special meeting or a study session between now and the time the board meets on November 10th to talk about to get approval on the final contract for the Serapian building, as well as a study session on a potential bond for the Pasadena Area Community College District. So as soon as we know that date, we will post it. Trustee Brown has already indicated that she won't be here on Wednesday, November 10th. And I'm going to also say I'm not going to be here, but it's for a very good reason, and that's because the Los Angeles 19, which are the LA community colleges of Los Angeles County, are being awarded the Eddy Award by the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation. The Eddy Awards are given out every year to recognize entities. There's a business award, an education award, a city award for entities that really promote and accomplish a lot when it comes to economic development in the region. And as I recently told the board, we successfully divided the Los Angeles Orange County Regional Consortium, which is a strong workforce program, into a Los Angeles-based entity and an Orange County-based entity. Pasadena City College will be the fiscal agent for that. Mm-hmm. But for the Eddy Awards, the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation and Bill Allen, their CEO, requested that Dr. Francisco Rodriguez of the LACCD and I and Bill Scroggins be present to personally accept the award on behalf of the 19 colleges. Dr. Scroggins is not able to join us. Francisco and I will be there, but we were all filmed as part of an award ceremony. So It is actually being held at SoFi Stadium, so it'll be a really interesting event, but I'm quite honored, and I think it's a wonderful statement of the reputation of Pasadena City College and what we have accomplished in economic and workforce development. And I look forward to updating you at a future agenda, at a future board meeting about the region, and which is called the LARC, the Los Angeles Area Regional Consortium, and that is, our effort here is being led by Salvatrice Kumos. So it's very exciting, but I too will not be here on November 10th, but Vice President of Business Services, Candace Jones, is going to sit in my stead.
I was just wondering, is there a reason why we couldn't maybe postpone the board meeting to a later date?
Okay.
Just a thought.
Okay. Well, we can
Should
look
we
at
look
that.
at calendars right now and see about that, or?
We can do, it's easier to do a doodle poll, so we'll do that, and then we'll obviously post that
That would be
publicly.
that would
But-
actually be good.
Okay, we will look into that. All right.
Yeah.
Just to note that the following week is the CCLC conference.
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah.
you'd have to do it either earlier or Thanksgiving
Yeah,
week,
but
right?
she's in the middle of everything, so she probably has something to do on Wednesday night.
Let's take a poll and see if it's
Yeah, we'll
possible
see.
we could kind of shift
We
it
will do
around.
that. Okay.
That'd be
we
really
will
nice if we
absolutely
could do it.
that. Mhm.
Okay, so future agenda items, do we have any? Yes.
So I had a chance to attend one of the sessions at ACCT given by former BOG member Baum, who was promoting OER, gave some shout outs to Pasadena, but also gave some recommendations on things that we trustees and leaders in the community colleges could track, and also offered to, I guess he's working with an organization on OER. So Dr. Anjanez, just whenever, so it's not urgent. I know this is part of your goals anyway, to track data that makes, that shows the progress we're making. But if at some point we can have a report on additional, how is OER progressing? I know we've saved $1 million for students, but especially during the pandemic, it would be good to know how OER has progressed. And also, really pleased that to have the report that San Marino finally has a dual enrollment class, 2 dual enrollment classes.
Yay, 2.
You didn't know
Yes. Well, yes. Okay.
She was
Anyway.
reluctant.
All right. Let's not get snarky here. So, so I did have a chance to listen to Bill Scoggins, Dr. Scoggins, and Audrey Yamaguchi on dual enrollment. And some of the things they brought up, which I think would be good for us if we can find out more about the CPL, credit by prior learning. So I know that's one of the policies that we passed, and how far we're getting on that, and how that maybe articulates into what we're doing on dual enrollment. So not urgent, just wherever it fits into within your goals and the report.
Okay, so, yes.
Thank you, President. On a future proposed agenda.
Could you
item-
take, so we could hear what you're saying, remove your mask.
Yes, on a future agenda item, do you think we can get an update on enrollment?
That's separate and a part of the quarterly information that we provide?
I mean, it could be part of your president's report.
I thought we had some time set where we would have those. Isn't that already,
I believe so.
yeah.
So I'll
when-
have to look and see
Yeah,
what
I
the
think we
schedule
have
is.
a schedule of different things that comes out. I
Okay.
think you have it and I have it. So let's try to stick to the schedule so we don't overburden
Yes, if you
administration.
can share the schedule, that would be great. Thank you.
We all have it. Look at the goal thing, I think we have it.
No, it's
No?
on our enrollment numbers, on our current enrollment numbers, and how that compares.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we are now, do you see it? You have a
I'm
schedule.
looking for it.
We have a schedule that, we have a timeline
We
where
do have a
things come
timeline.
out. Okay, so in the meanwhile, we are going to adjourn this meeting, and we're going to do it in the memory of Andre Patskowski. Thank you. Yes, Andrea, I think that she did send out a spreadsheet with the different
Yeah, I think
things that are going to be coming out.
yeah, I think it's quarterly.